If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
This is Joe.
And this week we've got a few different topics for you. We've got, are there too many superhero movies? Is the market oversaturated for this type of film? We've got, is the market tied directly to the properties or is it tied to the books at all anymore? Who can tell? I can't. And then lastly, we had a little fun a couple episodes ago doing our Justice League Fantasy Snake Draft. We're coming right back at you with an Avengers Fantasy Draft. But before we get into all that, Joe had a little message he had for everybody out there. So I'm going to let him say his piece.
Okay, so we're recording today, the 25th of September, and today is Christopher Reeve's birthday. So I just want to say rest in peace, Christopher Reeve. For those that don't know, he's famous for his role on Superman back in the day. I think as far as everyone that has ever played Superman, not including Tom Welling because it was a TV show and he technically played Clark Kent, not Superman, he was definitely my favorite actor to ever play Superman. So since I saw that on Google today, just wanted to put that out there on behalf of Comic Book Junkies. So I appreciate what he did to that role and just wanted to say happy birthday.
Happy birthday, dog. RIP to a legend.
All right. Today's first topic. Are there too many superhero movies? Will the genre become oversaturated? So my stance, I do not think that there are too many superhero movies. So I think the reason we see so many superhero movies now as opposed to back in the day is that they didn't sell as many tickets back then, like as far as the movies go. I think Disney and Marvel Studios, once they got involved, they were able to make it profitable. After the success of like Iron Man and the Dark Knight trilogy, I think companies realized how profitable the market can be because superheroes are so popular. I think they also realized that comic book stories weren't just for kids, but have matured a lot, especially during like the Frank Miller era of Batman. So there's a lot of source material to work with. That and CGI has just gotten a lot better now as opposed to like way back in the day. So because it's so profitable, there's definitely a justified reason as to why so many are coming out. So I do think that they're popular for a lot of the same reasons that we like to read comic books. So for many, it offers kind of like an escape for your everyday life. And then on the flip side of that, a lot of people can relate to these superheroes, not just because of their powers, because obviously nobody has fucking superpowers, but how they often reflect on like the human experience as well. I always use Superman as an example of this because Superman was created by Jewish immigrants coming to the country, and they made Superman an alien intentionally because he's coming from a different planet to do better for their country. So just that kind of symbolic storytelling, I think, is the reason why so many people can relate to these characters, and is a reason why that I don't think that the superhero movie genre is oversaturated. So I have more to speak on it, but let me get your input first.
Okay, so yeah, I got a couple different ways I'm looking at this right now. So to your point, I mean, look, I'm a superhero fan. There's nothing I love more than seeing, characters that we never have seen or don't see enough of on the big screen. I like superhero movies, point blank. But at the same time, maybe it's personal, but I know you're kind of this way as well. How can we say it's not oversaturated when at this point we have like a good 4 to 6 coming out a year between both companies, and you and I pass on more than half of them? Isn't that kind of oversaturation? Like we're literally getting too much supply relative to our demand for it. There's a lot of things that you and I don't want to go see because there's too much coming out and not enough of it looks good. And when there's too much coming out, I feel like the quality suffers. And to that point, I mean, I'm not going to get like high school debate on you here, like to my point, but you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want superhero movies to go away. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that, like, for me personally, I think maybe there might be too much coming out. Maybe it's just the wrong stuff in my eyes coming out. Because like sometimes it kind of feels like a never ending train. It's like we're riding Snowpiercer, which is a movie I haven't even seen, but I know the plot because I'm a sociopath. But anywho, I don't want to go see all these movies. It's kind of exhausting. It's like, okay, so we're looking years down the pipeline now, and we know what movies are coming out, and we're looking for spoilers for those already. It's hit such a fever pitch and such a craze. I feel like it is almost oversaturated, not just at the box office, but now we're getting all these announcements from DC saying that, like, oh, we're putting out a Blue Beetle movie, we're putting out a Batgirl movie, we're putting out a Jason Todd movie, we're putting out this movie. When are we getting fucking Ambush Bug, dude? You're gonna run the well dry. But you know, it's just there's so many movie and media coming out right now, and I'm not saying that's bad because I think it's a good thing. Like horror, like action movies, I feel like superheroes have grounded themselves as like a niche that's never gonna go away now. Like no matter what you do, and no matter how, you know, unpopular it may be in the future, I feel like it's cemented itself as a genre that there is like a dedicated fan base for no matter what. Look at horror stuff. No matter how good or how bad it is, there are freaks that love that shit. And it's kind of like metal music, even. Like, it's not super popular like it used to be, but there's a dedicated fan base that will always keep it alive. So I think right now we're at like the height of superheroes' powers. But, you know, in the future, I think it might come to a bit more respectable place. And honestly, I mean, I'm just prognosticating now. Hopefully, it kind of returns back to the core audience, you know, kind of just boring old white guys looking at the straight from the page type adaptations, you know, less liberties taken when it's less profitable, and they're just trying to, you know, do a faithful comic book adaptation, which is what I'm looking for.
Well,
what do you think?
It's definitely its own genre. It's like it just how there's sci-fi and horror, like you're saying, like it's cemented itself as its own genre. But if you think about it, I believe that the popularity of these movies is what makes it feel overly saturated. Because defining it as a genre, if you think about how many movies come out a year and how many of those movies are superhero movies, I doubt it would even make up 5% of the movies that come out every year. So in a sense, it's not overly saturated. It's just overly marketed because, like you said, there's only like 6 movies that come out a year.
But
And so it's just like,
it's been over a decade.
And there's like 1,000 movies that come out a year. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of movies, and not even just like what you see at the theaters, because there's always like 12 different movies running every month. But I mean, there's a lot of indie movies and stuff like that. But
oversaturation is in like the mainstream, though. I mean, like the majority of what is being marketed and pushed onto people at, you know, the majority of venues where people do watch movies is this, and it's like the only thing that is like pushed anymore. Even the blockbusters of old aren't even coming out with the same frequency that these are. We have 4 to 6 a year, and we have for the past, like, I don't know, 7, 8, and before then we've been doing it for at least 10 years, you know, ever since the MCU started. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively
the quantity's low. It's just there's a lot of marketing for it
in a way, but like,
because it can't be its own genre if there's only one movie coming out a year. You know what I mean? It's become a genre because of how many are coming out, but I wouldn't say that it's overly saturated. But that's just my take. But another reason I'm not super bothered by it is because there's 100 of cool characters too. You know, I mean, some of them are B, C-list characters, whatever. I don't really care to see a movie about it. But it's the reason why we have so many key issues is because we love all these characters. You know, there's decades of stories that can be referenced for filmmakers, and it bringing attention to people who aren't just comic book nerds like us.
True.
But you were going to say something?
No, I mean, not really. And I mean, it is for the mainstream moviegoer. It's not for comic book fans. These movies never were for comic book fans.
You did bring up a good point. I do wish it would return to marketing towards people like us and not everybody in general.
Right, but that isn't what makes the money, so I understand why they don't do it. But your core audience, I mean, I don't want to get, you know, too crazy here and, you know, push people's buttons who are listening out there, but like even with the books nowadays, you know, they're making product for people who aren't consuming the product. Like the books, they're not made necessarily even for core comic readers necessarily anymore. They're like trying to target a demographic that, you know, might read the clickbait title about it or, you know, something like that. It's a talking point, but it's not actually something that's being purchased in mass quantities by the people you're trying to sell it to. And we wonder why the, you know, the print runs are terrible and the runs all end, you know, as a fucking 3-issue miniseries nowadays, because the books that you're supposed to be selling to people aren't selling. That's not the problem that the movies have, though. They do a better job with that. They take parts of what comic continuity there is. I know that's not the important thing in these movies, but it's just seeing a familiar face in a relatively familiar costume and making them look cool. Pretty much. I mean, that's what they're selling. I mean, Spider-Man's recognizable around the world. I mean, you go show a picture to some child in India, I bet he knows who that is. It's just a matter of putting butts in seats, which I get. But yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, obviously, I was the one who brought it up, but it's just like at some point, like, just a pure faithful adaptation. I mean, even in a way, it's not like 100%, but just Jazz and I were watching it just last night. We watched Spawn.
How was that?
It was cheesy as all hell. It was goofy. The Violator was hilarious. John Leguizamo was like a little short, fat clown. And it was cool, though. I mean, it's campy. It's cheesy. It had a comic book accurate costume for the most part, especially given the time period it was made and with the budget I'm sure it had. But, that's the thing. Like, maybe it's just me, but I can slog through whatever movie as long as it's like, it kind of looks and feels like how I interpret the character. It felt true. It's just stuff like that maybe is a sad point for me that I wish that they'd get a little bit closer to, but it is what it is. Like, the engine that they've built for this whole industry now is kind of set in stone, especially at Marvel. It's kind of rinse and repeat at this point, honestly, which is why I think that I'm feeling like it's oversaturated, I suppose. It's because every year we can count on 4 movies at least, and now we're getting 5 TV shows a year as well, plus whatever else they decide to do. It's like there's just so much, and I just feel like it's like, hey, we've got your vanilla ice cream delivery, and it's just like, but bro, I had vanilla ice cream 4 times a year for the past 8 years. Maybe I want chocolate, maybe I want sprinkles, and they're like, no, you'll have vanilla and you like it. And it's like, I don't like vanilla anymore, bro. It sucks. But that's what it is. It's like maybe sometimes they throw you a scoop of chocolate, like with the Moon Knight TV series, like something kind of different or interesting. I don't know, man.
It's a gateway for stuff like that. I know what you're saying,
but is it? Because what is the gateway of the Marvel movies? There's no gateway other than to the Marvel movies. It doesn't translate to anybody picking up any more comics than they already do. It's literally just an entertainment machine of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They don't even go to DC movies anymore. So they don't care about the comic characters as a spectrum. They care about just the Marvel movies. It's
definitely a business. It kind of reminds me of the golden age of Westerns and how popular they were, for a period of time. But I will say quality is what's important to me. In a previous pod, we've mentioned we will not be reviewing every comic book movie, and it's because some of them just look like bad movies despite the genre. With the resources they have now, that genre has more success than ever. They have a lot of opportunity to tell some stories that non-comic book readers are unfamiliar with. I think as long as they keep selling well, then I can't say that they're truly oversaturated, because even if I don't identify with some of the movies, I suppose enough people are, because people watch these movies for different reasons. Like, we enjoy the characters and the source material, but for example, parents might just want to watch the movies to spend time with their kids, or people might just want to go out on a date, right? And so there's
Isn't that
a lot
funny,
of,
though?
It is funny.
When you go to the movies, you don't actually spend any time with that person other than sitting right next to them. You pay no attention to that person.
You just eat their popcorn.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, so I could see the argument made that they're kind of like Westerns or whatever, but because Westerns were very popular back in the day and have definitely died down since, the only thing I don't know is how long this genre will be a part of pop culture. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe they do start tailoring it to people like us. I don't know, but
probably not.
I'm not complaining, because it does a wonder for our investments, which kind of brings us to our next topic.
Yeah, which also kind of sucks at the same time, because, I'm looking at it this way now. Is the market tied directly only to the properties that are being pushed now? Or, I'm setting up the topic here. Look at me go. Is it just the video game appearances? Is it the movies, the TV shows, the cosplay ability when you go to the Comic-Con? Is that what is selling the books now strictly? Or, I understand that is going to be the engine for driving the sales, in today's market. That makes a lot of sense. This is the golden age, the renaissance of comic book speculation. We saw the bubble pop, shit hit the fan, everything was dirt cheap, as I would love it to be, because I'm trying to accumulate, not sell. But all that said, things are going crazy right now. I mean, this is what drives the market. But part of me wonders, what kind of happened to the natural and inherent value that these books carry? I feel like we don't talk about that at all, really. And I get it because it's not the hot topic. It's not sexy to talk about. But what about the pure scarcity, the scarcity rather, the allure, the natural demand for a character? Do people want these books as part of their collections, or do they want it because it's the new hot thing? Do they want it to just flip it, or do they actually enjoy it? And I'm not naming names. I'm not really judging you. I'm just pointing out something I see. You see us on Insta. We post our own shit on Insta. We see a bunch of people on Insta. I don't know if you see it the same way I see it, but I see so many people, respect to you. You can buy bigger books than I can afford. Not, part of me is envious, but I feel like people don't appreciate the books anymore either. And this isn't even a value thing. I'm getting a little off topic, but just the market. I feel like it's kind of like a look at me, I've got this type thing. And then it's out the door the next week just to buy the next new hot book to flip. And it's just at the same time, like, what happened to the inherent value, like Golden Age books, as opposed to these Bronze Age books? Golden Age, I mean, far fewer of them. Granted, the print runs were probably higher, but less of them were saved, on all that. Those books, a lot of them, other than like the major keys for like Superman and Batman books, are pretty relatively affordable still, if you look in the right spots. Meanwhile, just like Flavor of the Week Bronze Age books now can go up for $400 that were $25 last week. It's like, is it truly that valuable, or is this a market hype pump and dump type thing from, people with power in the community? Is that justified? Because we see so many times those books go shooting right back down into the dumps. Who's coming out on top of this, and why, and what's up with that? I mean, we're not spec chasers by any means, and we get if you are, I mean, there's lots of money to be made, but it's just like, what is driving value anymore? Like, is it literally just FOMO? You fear missing out on this book, or do you want this book? Is it actually worth that? Like, who's telling you that you want it? Are you telling yourself, or are you just seeing what everybody else is posting and you're like, gotta get me some? So what do you think about it, bro?
Man, you brought up a lot of good points. I think that the value of comic books is mostly linked to the market of the movies. I do agree with you.
Nowadays,
I think
yeah.
since we've been collecting, it feels like comic books have doubled, tripled, quadrupled in value. And I started collecting in 2011, so that's nuts. There are other things to consider because key issues can be more than just a first appearance of a character, like iconic covers or whatever. But that kind of goes into what you were saying. Like, do people actually appreciate these books, or are people just investing? So that doesn't have as much to do with the movie market, but I think that people who collect in the first place, kind of like us, that's not so much of the hobby anymore, unfortunately. But there are things to consider when collecting, like the age of the book, the scarcity, the print run, etc. So it's not just movie and TV news that drives these books, but a lot of it is, because I think it's like a perceived value, like how important are these characters? Because for example, Deadpool came out in the late 80s, and that book had a really high print run, and the book is pretty expensive, and it's not because it's a scarce book, it's because of the popularity of the character. But if you look at the value of the comic books right now, before the pandemic, so like a year to 2 years ago, the books didn't even explode until just kind of recently. And so I can't say that it's exactly caused by the movies, because there's only been so many movies that have came out in the past year or two. You know what I mean? I feel like they've even doubled in a year or two. I think when everyone was bored at home and getting stimulus checks, that was probably a large factor too in the increased value in comics. So that also doesn't have a lot to do with the production of superhero shows or movies, even though it is a large part. Another thing to note is that if a movie or show flops, the book will sometimes depreciate in value after the movie, even if it's just for a little bit. Not necessarily a flop, but I remember buying Black Manta back in the day, and
I was just about to say,
it didn't really do anything after the movie. If anything, it kind of depreciated. And then even movies that did well, like Deadpool, there was a little drop off too between the first and second movie. And so in addition to that, there are some comic books that are worth a fortune, and it has nothing to do with the movie or TV market. Like the first appearance of Solomon Grundy, for example, who's not a very popular character, but because his first appearance is in the golden age of comics, it will fetch a lot more than that Deadpool I was talking about.
Great point.
So I do agree that the movie and TV TV shows bring a lot of perceived value to these books, but it did kind of sound like I was arguing against myself. But I just wanted to acknowledge that the movie appearances of these characters may not always do as much as you think, but it does make a difference a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to every story, but I guess part of it that's got me thinking, because like to your point, it made a lot of sense. You know, it touched on the golden age point I made with the inherent value. You know, it's old, is you can't replace all of those copies that were destroyed. As versus a Deadpool, which is almost like an artificially inflated value to a degree. You know, I mean, looking at it, I mean, honestly, I mean, it's worth that because that is what somebody's willing to pay for it. But when you look at it like on paper, with how many were made, how many are in relatively high grade, is it really worth that if it was any other book? But whatever. To that point, the value, you know, tying it to the movies, the properties and all that. We've seen this especially with Marvel. Marvel has been the biggest benefactor of this. Books that are between a 2.5 and a 3.5 that were, you know, $400 for, you know, like a Kang, something like that, are now going for $1,000. You know, books that are in the Bronze Age. I mean, look at A Tomb of Dracula. Low end, you're lucky if you get one for $800. Marvel Spotlight 5, you know, Ghost Rider. Fuck, you're paying $1,000 at least, and that could be for a beater copy. Bronze Age especially has been heating up. So I mean, I feel like the Bronze Age is where is especially feeling the market hype and inflation. A lot of that is also, like you said, to touch on your point, you know, people were bored at home. It's not just bored people. It's people who, you know, the economy wasn't great, obviously, when, you know, Coco hit. How could it? So people who had money already, had it in the stock market, you know, smart investors, you know, they wanted to diversify. They bought collectibles. Collectibles are a booming market. I mean, look at Pokemon cards. All the collectibles are going crazy. People are fist fighting each other at Target for basketball cards. They don't even sell them there anymore. So, I mean, you know, things are going crazy. People want to diversify. But I mean, back to what I was trying to say before I got off topic. When I get going, I get going. Marvel movies, biggest benefactor that we've seen for Marvel comics. Great. All the Marvel movies are hyping that shit up. DC, nothing. No hype. Like Black Manta, goes up for a little bit, deflates immediately. Nothing cool happened. Aquaman 1 never saw any hype when Aquaman was coming out. Barely any Wonder Woman books saw any noticeable jump. You know, all we're going to see is Batman and Superman books jump because those are apparently the only things that collectors see valuable anymore. Hell, even The Flash. So I've literally had this conversation when I'm on social media under our CBJ pod, you know, at us, but you know, I'm on there, I'm talking to people. I have a Flash 110, first Wally West Weather Wizard, double whammy. You would think, you know, maybe you're not the biggest Flash fan, but look at it like this. You know, it's a book that came out in the 60s. It's an early book in the Flash run. It's the first appearance of Wally West, which was an entire generation's Flash. It's also a villain. It's a double whammy. It's a good book. Why is that not seeing like any type of hype at all? I feel like as opposed to so many books we see in the market nowadays, why is that like a book that is like pretty affordable, like all things considered? Like no one's breaking their back to get a Wally or to pay for a Wally. The demand's not there for any reason. So that's what got me thinking, like the wheel's spinning, like, does inherent value mean anything anymore? I mean, I get that there's no Wally West hype in the movies, but that's what I'm saying. Like, are there collectors anymore who just think that, you know, classic Silver Age DC books that are hard to get or are just plain out cool, like, are those worth purchasing anymore? There's a guy that I talked to who had a crispy one, and I'm like, doesn't anybody think that like this should be worth more than it is? And he's like, well, there's no movie hype going on with it, and anything that was meaningful has either been canceled or it's already blown over. So it's just like, is that the only thing pushing it now? Is that why people don't like buying DC? Personally, I think that's why DC is a good investment right now. Buy it while it's low.
Buy it low. Yeah, my advice is, because like I said, Westerns were so popular and then they phased out. There's a chance that these movies phase out. I'm not saying that they are, but like, get what you enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, the reason why you're collecting, because like these trends come and go, and what you like and what you identify with doesn't. And so just stick to your guns, you know?
Well, yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. I mean, I've ran my jibs for God knows how long on this topic right now. So I think I've kind of said my piece. I'm going to have to go get my inhaler if I fucking say any more. You got anything else on this topic?
No, just to recap, I don't think it's overly saturated yet, just because they sell well. But I do think that it has become the value of comic books, unfortunately, for the most part anyway. But you did bring up one last good point. Marketing and everything like that has a huge role. And I I think that's why Marvel does a better job of inflating their books than DC. It just seems like they're kind of more powerful, you know?
Yeah, for the most part, DC's just sitting there with their hand in their ass, so I don't really know what to say about them at this point. But we'll leave DC to the wayside. I've said Marvel a lot today, and we're going to kind of keep that rolling with our final topic here. If you listen to us, which I'm assuming you do, you heard us do our Justice League fantasy football draft. Just, we're big fantasy guys, we're big football guys. So, why don't we match that up with our other favorite things, comics? So we did Justice League last time. We put a poll up. It looks like we were split about 50-50, which I was kind of surprised because low-key Joe's team was
Fake
better
news.
than mine.
Thank you, Burger.
Not fake news. It did happen. I witnessed it, but I do agree with you. But
I'm just disappointed. I had a squad.
Yeah, well, I guess my squad was just as cute. But you know what? We're going to do the Avengers now. So rules for this. We're doing a snake draft yet again. I had first pick last time, so now Joe's going to get first pick. That means I'll get second and third. He'll get fourth and fifth, so on and so forth until we draft 6 people. So the Avengers have kind of like a varying roster size. The original Avengers squad had only 5 members, with Steve Rogers, Captain America joining shortly after in issue 4. So that brought it up to a total of 6. And then, the MCU Avengers had an original roster of 6 as well. So we figured, hey, 6 seems like a pretty solid even number. We'll pick 6 of our favorites. We're picking them for various reasons, just like fantasy football. We want people who are both talented, but also cool. No losers. So we're going to try and pick our coolest / best / toughest squads. All right, Joe, you're on the clock. Who's your 1-1?
My 1 is Hulk.
That's a very good choice because I've compiled a little list who I had at the top of mine. So
right, because there's a lot of people who can lead your squad, but that's the powerhouse of the MCU. So I just wanted to lock that in before anything else.
Smart. So you know what? I get 2 back-to-back picks. My first overall pick, I'm going to take Thor because if you're taking Hulk, I got to pick someone somewhat close, at least in terms of strength. To double it up with my 2 pick, I'm going Spider-Man. So Thor and Spider-Man are on Burger Squad. Who you got, brother?
Oh, I'm jealous because my 2 favorite Marvel characters are Spider-Man and Hulk. So I was hoping to get Spider-Man for myself. But anyway, that's the fairness of the draft. So my number 2 pick, let's go Captain America. We'll be true to the Avengers squad. I almost picked Cyclops. I'm not going to pick both because they play a similar role. But just because we're drafting an Avengers squad, I'm going to go with the Captain. And then my next pick, just because we recently did the Justice League, I'm going to pick Marvel's version of Aquaman, and we're going to lock in Submariner as my number 3 pick. So because he's a bad motherfucker. He's an anti-hero. You know what I mean? Like I said, the comics market's not overly saturated yet because I would love to see a Submariner movie, but if it's done well. But anyways, back to you, Burger.
All right. So now you've got me thinking. I got a few different ways I can approach this for my third and fourth picks here. I think that I'm going to have to go ahead and take the Silver Surfer. Like I said, he's beefy as all hell. So, I'm just going to deck up on Power Squad here. And, next, you mentioned it. You're not taking Cyclops, but, I don't know. Second to Captain America, who's the best leader in the Marvel universe other than, you can say, Mr. Fantastic if you want to. But I don't want that fucking stretchy douche on my squad as much as I love the Fantastic Four. I like the Chad, alpha vibes that Cyclops gives me. So I want him leading the squad. So we're going to take Cyclops at pick 4.
Very good pick. I like this squad so far better than your Justice League squad. Yeah, not to say that was a bad squad, but I had Silver Surfer on my list too, just in case. But so my next pick, let's diversify it a little bit. I'm gonna go with Phoenix.
Ooh, good choice. She's strong as fuck.
She's a bad mamma jamma. And so obviously a popular pick may have been like Black Widow, but I like Phoenix more. So we're gonna go with Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's my 4th pick. I know it's a lot of X-Men, but you got Cyclops. So I'm going to put Wolverine in the squad.
Ooh, good choice. He was on my list too, my short list.
Yeah, I just like the guy.
Everybody needs that glue guy, the real charisma dude.
Yeah. So that's my 5th pick.
All right, bro. So I guess to wrap up my squad, my final 2 picks here, I'm not diversifying my squad. I think it's just going to be the dude squad from here on out, dude. They're just going to roll out, dude. It's going to be like a big frat party all the time. So we're going to get, actually, I might pivot. I don't even know where to go. I have so many good names on my list. So fuck it. We're gonna take out of left field. We're gonna add Black Bolt of the Inhumans. He's a fucking natural born leader himself. He doesn't speak, but he understands. He's like a dog, bro. As Jay-Z put it, I'm like a dog. I never speak, but I understand. That's what Black Bolt does. He stands in the corner and he listens, and then he can go scream at a planet and destroy it. So I'm gonna take his goofy ass. And then to wrap it up, it's gonna be Scorched Earth, bro. Anybody that runs into my squad's either gonna be dead or terrified, dude. We're gonna take Ghost Rider because he's gonna stare into your soul and penance stare, bro. You're gonna go to hell. So I'm taking Ghost Rider, dude.
That's sweet, dude. You're asking my last pick?
Yes, sir. Who are your last ones?
All right. I'm not a big Iron Man guy. I'm going to put that out there, but he's got resources financially. Wow. And so I need somebody with some money on my squad because Hulk just wears purple shredded pants. And so nobody's got any money. So I'm going to put Tony Stark as my number 6 pick.
That's a good pick, dude. I mean, he was on my list, but something about it just said no. He's just less cool Batman.
Yes, he is.
That's all. He's Batman in an iron suit that doesn't know kung fu. So who cares?
I have a lot of honorable mentions though. Like honestly, my favorite part of Marvel is like the street level characters. So the Moon Knights, the Blades, the Daredevils, the Punishers.
All up on there, bro.
And so I almost picked one of those guys ahead of Iron Man. But like I said, if we're doing like a forever Avengers squad, it just makes sense. Yeah. So that caps both of our squads.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out a couple of the other honorable mentions I had. You mentioned most of them, but the only ones that I didn't pick were Mr. Fantastic, who I just kind of flamed on. I put the Thing on there because I knew you were going to take Hulk if I didn't.
Well, when you picked Thor, I was gonna think if you picked Hulk, I would have picked the Thing.
Yeah, fuck it, dude. I'm just gonna go with Thor. Thor's not gonna beat Hulk 1-on-1, but he could at least, hold him off for a little while.
Question to end the episode: do you think Thor could beat the Thing?
That's a good fucking question. So, I mean, there's gonna be, ravenous nerds telling me there's no shot. I've seen, Hulk and Thor duke it out, and personally, I'm of the belief that Hulk would beat the shit out of the Thing. So, even though, I mean, they've gone toe to toe many a time, and some guy wins here, some guy wins there. In my mind, Hulk would beat the tar out of the Thing, dude. He'd crumble that rock. But
no, I mean, would Thor beat the Thing?
No, I know. I'm just prefacing that.
My bad.
If I think that Thor and Hulk could kind of go toe to toe in a way, I think Hulk would still beat Thor. But if they can fight, I feel like Thor could beat the Thing. I mean, Hammer beats Rock, right? You just pound him out, bro.
Okay.
What do you think, dude? You think all Rock Hands is gonna go beat him up?
No, I agree with you. Probably Thor would win. I like the Thing better, but Thor is probably a better person to put on your squad.
That's interesting because I have so many Fantastic Four books and I love them, but I like them better as like a group than like individually.
No, the Thing's cool.
The Thing is cool.
Do you remember that run on?
Oh, you're talking about the Galactus trilogy.
The Galactus trilogy, dude. Yeah, the Thing was hilarious.
Yeah, the Thing is sweet. I'm not saying I don't like the Thing.
I like him individually.
Yeah, I'm just saying I like them better as a whole. I mean, I like them individually, but like as a squad, I much prefer them to, one by one. Because like as much as I love Mr. Fantastic, he is kind of like that nerdy douchebag, like he kind of went to high school with. He's just like, I know this. It's like, yeah, bro, whatever, dude. B's passed too. I don't need an A+. It's like, you think you're better than me? I'll beat your ass. But no, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Thor's so strong. It's just he's so across the board nowadays. They kind of pantsed his ass in the Marvel movies. Like he's a fucking joke now.
Jane Foster's the new Thor, but the Thing, he's got heart.
There's only one thing, and he's macking on blind broads, as we noticed.
I know. So, he's got a romantic side to him. He's kind of got a little Leonardo DiCaprio in him.
Yeah, a little bit. Somewhere in there, bro. But yeah, he looks more like Elephant
I think we're
Man.
Just talking now. So
yeah, I don't even have any good points left floating around in my noggin, dude.
Nope. But, so my number one's Hulk, second's Captain America, third Submariner, 4 Phoenix, 5 Wolverine, 6 Iron Man.
Yeah, I got Thor, Spider-Man, Silver Surfer, Cyclops, Black Bolt, and Ghost Rider. Who knows? We're going to go ahead and post this one in a few days. Well, yeah, in a few days here by the time you hear this one. Let us know who you think. We're going to probably put it up in our stories. We'll have a little voting option. Like I said, last time 50-50. We'd like to be a little bit more decisive this time. So let's pick us a clear winner this time, guys.
Yeah, you guys should vote with the intensity of getting a sticker at the end of it.
Right on. And with that note, you know where to find us. CBJ Pod on Instagram, CBJ Podcast on Facebook. Type Comic Book Junkies anywhere you can. If we're not at the top, scroll down, you'll find us. We're on YouTube. Tell your friend, tell your neighbor, tell your mailman. Who cares? Tell anyone you like. Give us 5 stars, rate, subscribe, review, everything YouTubers say. We're not really that invested on that part. We like doing this for you. We just like to see that little bit of encouragement you guys give us. You know, gives us the strength to power on and keep doing this great show for you. And we got you want to let them know what we're doing next time, brother?
Yes, sir. So we're gonna do Superman for all seasons. Big Superman fan. We'll see you for that episode.
Yep, don't know a damn thing about it, but I'm excited to review it for you guys. We'll catch you next time.
All right, guys. Later.